Okay, I'm JJ, and today I'm going to be breaking down my solo guitar arrangement of the jazz standard Misty by Errol Garner. And if you haven't seen my arrangement yet, I will put links to the video everywhere, so go ahead and check that out before watching this one. So this is a favorite among jazz guitar players, and chances are if you're into chord melodies, or solo guitar, this is probably going to be one of the first ones you take on, and for good reason, because you don't need to do a whole lot to it to make it sound good. Pretty much just play the melody and voice the chords, and you're good to go. Once you put that all together, it just results in a very playable arrangement, especially on the guitar. Plus the changes are cool. We got some 2/5s in there, and it's fun to solo over. And everybody loves the song, so you can't go wrong putting it into your set list. But really, all of that can make it kind of difficult to make interesting, at least for me personally. It's such a popular song, and people kind of expect to hear it a certain way. So if you change it up too much, and go too crazy with it, it might not please everybody. But I've been playing this song for a long time, over a decade. I've got recordings of me back in high school playing arrangements of this, and pretty much I usually, every time I play it, I usually just keep it very straightforward, and don't do too many reharmonizations, or don't mangle the changes too much. But this time I wanted to do something totally different than what I usually do. So originally I wanted to make this very abstract, and kind of like an arrangement of Body and Soul I did a couple months ago. So when I started working on Misty, with that mindset, it just didn't work. It just was not going to happen. And I will say that I did come up with a little reharmonization, which evolved into something else down the road, which I did put into my arrangement. But what I came up with originally was okay. It was just 4 bars of the A section, and this was the first thing I worked on when I started this journey. And it was the thing I came up with, the 4 bars. It was usable, but not the greatest. And I was just like, okay, I can't do the whole song like this. It's just not going to work. So at that point, I abandoned the whole impressionistic, idea, and decided to play it very straightforward, like I always do. And as I was working on it, the same thing happened that usually happens, and I just kept chipping away, adding a little thing in here, discovering new ideas along the way, and over the course of a month or more, it evolved into what I have in my final arrangement. So and that's the way it usually works for me, and that's always the best. Whenever I say I'm going to do this great arrangement, I'm going to do this amazing arrangement, and it's going to be, everyone's going to love it, that usually doesn't work for me. I have to give myself time, and fresh ears every day. Come back, play it for half hour, 45 minutes, something like that, and just kind of let it take its shape naturally. So anyway, I'm pretty happy with what I came up with this time. I think it's a mix of, that straightforward playing, and, a little touch of that, impressionistic abstract style, and a couple cool reharmonizations in there that I like. So I hope you enjoy it, and I'm going to go through it as thoroughly as I can. So I'll say the intro, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it, because people are probably more interested in the main section. But the intro was a combination of 3 separate ideas that I came up with. So, you know, this first idea right here, this is just a B major 7 chord, do a B flat sus chord, B flat 7 sus, B major 7, D flat major 7, chromatic up to E flat major 7. So that to me was kind of like a rock progression almost, like flat 6, flat 7 to 1. That's kind of what I was thinking when I did that. And I do it twice, and I'll say that the second time through was I hit something that I really liked, and it was totally by accident the first time, and I decided to keep it in there. But when I go B major 7 again to the B flat 7 sus, then I go to a B flat major 7 and slide back up. So to me, that was like the weirdest B flat major 7 I'd ever heard in that context, and I loved it. And I love that little slide up there, you know, kind of keeping that same idea. So that's just a little side thing I really liked. But I didn't want to overdo it, you know, so I had to keep it light, you know. Just very, very light, you know, and so forth. So this was actually out of time. This was supposed to be out of time. I'm not quite sure if I have to listen to my arrangement. I'm not sure if I followed any type of count, but it was supposed to be just totally free and out of time. So anyway, from that idea, I went on to this cycle of fifths idea, and that's kind of a Joe Pass lick. He does it in a few. I mean, not the cycle of fifths. The cycle of fifths is, you know, the cycle of fifths itself, but the way he plays this on guitar is Joe Pass. These types of 7th chord voicings, and the trick here is that you say you're in the key of E flat, which we are going to be. If you cycle through major 7th chords, you know, E flat major 7, A flat major 7, D flat major 7, G flat major 7, B major 7, E major 7, when you get to that, you know, flat 2, you can slide back down. So it's just kind of a nice, you know, little chord fill, you know, sounds like chords are flying everywhere, you know, so if you ever just, you know, if you need to add something to a song, that's a cool little trick. In this case, I started it on the D flat major 7, ended up on a D major 7 once it cycled around, and then from there I slid up as opposed to sliding down like I said before. But in this case I slid up, which I liked, because then that just launches me into kind of the way I usually start the song off. This is the type of intro I usually do, this quoting the melody kind of, you know, and here I go, actually a dominant chord, G7 sharp 9, and then I just do a little variation, you know, soloistic, tritone idea. Kind of just more Joe Pass style lines, and I will say that was all worked out. Most of my intros are worked out. I need to start videos off on the right foot, and you know, I need to be confident in what I play. Otherwise, you know, it's just kind of, I might get frustrated, and you know, it's just I don't want to struggle, you know, to get started. So that was crafted to my liking, and you know, pretty much came out the same way every time. And frankly, pretty much all my videos have elements that I plan, and but there's also a whole lot of improvisation. So you know, that's just my style. I think a lot of people are like that, whether they admit it or not. But yeah, this intro was indeed. I wish it was the first time I played it, but you know, it was pre-planned. So all right, now we're on the first of many themes here. So this one in particular, this melody is a you know, we land on a B flat we're landing on a B flat dominant chord here. Now the scale choice, or the choice of harmony here, to me is pretty clearly a diminished sound. So in other words, you know, kind of like a 13 flat 9, 13 sharp 9, something like that, flat 5. Basically anything other than a flat 13. Diminished scale has a natural 13, ultra dominant scale has a flat 13. So because the melody itself uses that 13, you know, in that B flat chord, I want to avoid the flat 13 because it's just going to clash. And in the past, I've actually kind of resolved something like this, you know, like I'll land on it, which sounds, you know, kind of cool, jazzy, and then I'll like bump it up to the natural 13. But I don't know, I just, as I played it more and more as I grew up, I just decided to stick to to a diminished sound there with the natural 13, keep it pure, you know, not interfere. But the diminished scale gives us a whole lot of options. So you may be familiar with the, you know, diminished 7, like drop 2 voicing, you know, the inversions are all symmetrical, 3 frets apart. Well, you can actually just take the diminished scale and kind of just smash a whole bunch of notes together, or, you know, come up with your own voicings, and those will also be symmetrical. So, you know, they're going to be your best friends throughout this whole song. And in this case, you know, in this case, I'm just using this this shape right here, which I ended up on in my previous, in my intro. So I just decided to keep the same shape, you know, and I'll get to more later. You know, there's plenty of options. But this is basically like this is a B flat 13 flat 9 right here. And I'm not necessarily worrying about the chord name, you know, I'm just thinking sound, shape and sound is what I'm going for here. But I end up on this shape, which, you know, again, B flat 13 flat 9. I just move it up 3 frets to get that B flat on the top, on the melody. Move it back down, and then resolve to my E flat major 7, you know, to start the head. So I will say here that there are some options for your E flat major 7, but I choose not to do them. One very popular way of treating this is to do a diminished major 7, which sounds something like this, which is very cool, you know. Sorry. The reason why I don't do it, as you may be able to tell, is it's a real pain in this particular area of the guitar on these sets of strings to get that diminished major 7. That's basically just a D triad over an E flat bass note. It's a cool sound, it's great on piano. I've seen other guitar players do it. For me, I just decided, especially to start off a song, I'm just not gonna stress my hand out too much. And I'm just gonna keep it simple with that nice, you know, closed voicing E flat major 7. And one other thing I have written in here is no line cliches. And what I mean by that is stuff like that, any of the moving notes, like internal notes, you know. The reason being is that following the melody I'm about to play, kind of, it ascends, and when I throw in a line cliche, it just sounds like too many things are moving in that range. So if I do this, it's like, you know, it's almost like I don't know, to me it just sounds like it's a little too much movement, like, you know, you switched gears or something. So in this case, I don't do a line cliche. I may do it in the future. So we'll see, you know, hold that thought. But here, again, I just start off simply on my E flat major 7. So moving forward, I'm just going to walk up with some minor 7th chords, G minor 7, A minor 7, 3-note voicings, just, you know, just root 7th 3rd, root 7th 3rd, and then I hit my B flat minor 7 right there, play the melody, I get kind of like a 9 sound, B flat minor 9. Little sub 5 here, E7 down to E flat 7, which is an E flat 13 chord. A7 flat 5 into my A flat major 7. So these voicings here are, I'm not playing the, like a full, you know, the 5-string typical voicing we usually do. Like, you could, but I'm just kind of treating this more like a Bud Powell style shell, like a left hand on the piano and then a right hand, you know, just playing the melody. But, you know, it's an option. You could certainly throw in the, you have to make this maybe like an E9 here, you know, just like that. So now we're on the A flat major 7. And here is where I always showed a lot of immaturity. I'd always try to do some crazy, fancy lick, you know, just like, you know. And that's cool and all, but that really throws off the melody because the melody is a nice arpeggiated lick here, you know, going forward. So as I was trying to come up with something here, you know, that didn't like mask a melody, you know, or confuse the listener, I don't know, I just kind of stumbled upon like some bass ideas, and I ended up just doing a little bass arpeggio sequence. And that's in the lower register, so it's not gonna, you know, I'm not gonna be like, you know, doing too many arpeggios in that range. So yeah, this is just an A flat major 7 arpeggio. These 2-string like Johnny Smith voicings. And then here's just a G minor 7 flat 5 arpeggio. Maybe think of it as an E flat 9. And just back on that A flat major 7. So that's what I chose to do there. Again, as opposed to some like, you know, it's like, are you playing the melody or not? You know, if you do too many licks. So yeah, definitely try not to get too many notes, you know, flying too soon, or you know, or don't be bumped into the melody. Anyway, so then we move forward, and here, just straight straight up A flat minor 9 to D flat 13. Now, the reason I don't do the same thing as I did on the B flat minor 7 and E flat 7, the tritone sub, is because I'm about to walk up to the E flat. So I go like, and then from this D flat, I go D in the bass, melody is an A flat, and resolve to my E flat major 7. And because I hit that D there, I don't want to hit that as a tritone sub going into the D flat. Because I feel like I hit it too many times. And this is a big principle of mine, and we're going to see it a whole lot, you know, more in this arrangement and in really all my arrangements, but it's something I refer to as backtracking. You know, I don't want to walk back on the same thing I just did. So if I put the D in there as a tritone sub, I don't want to walk back up. You may not have a problem with that. It's just kind of almost like an OCD thing of mine. You know, I don't want to hit the same note too many times, especially in the bass. You know, the chords, you know, solo, that's totally different. But as far as the bass note goes, I like to have as much variety as possible, and you know, that's just my personal preference. Like when I go to a store, like say I go out to the store to get something, I'll typically walk down one side of the street and then walk back the other side, just because I like a little variety, you know? I'm not crazy or anything, you know, I'm not going to go like far out of my way, but, you know, I like to see different things, you know, along my walk. And just like here, I like to, you know, try to get as many different things in as possible without repeating them. So that's backtracking. I'm going to be referring to that a whole lot, so keep that, you know, in the back of your mind. But anyway, we go from, and I will say here I am playing the full chords since there's not quite as much motion, and again resolving up to this E flat, and then here is my, I mean, it's not mine, but it's the patented, you know, way to play Misty. You know, just keep these little three-note 7th chord voicings: E flat major 7, F minor 7, G minor 7, down to a C, C minor 7. I play it that way every time because it's just so good. And you could use 4 notes, you know, it's just a little, just a different, slightly different sound, and, you know, a little different shape in the left hand. But I don't know, I think these 3-note voicings are kind of easier to move around, so more times than not when I'm playing kind of faster chordal passages like that, I'm using those types of voicings. Anyway, from this C minor 7, I'm going to walk up with 2 diminished chords, and then to my F minor 7. Now from the C, you may be able to guess where the second diminished chord came from. It's basically turning this into a C7 chord, you know, which is going to resolve to the F minor. So, you know, if the diminished chord, C7 flat 9, or, you know, C7 over E, something like that, you know, and that resolves nicely into the F. But where does the first one come from? Where does that come from? Well, the way I look at it, well, actually, there's 2 things. One, it's just kind of a passing chord. You know, I'm not spending a whole lot of time on it, so, you know, if I don't have a good explanation for it, then, you know, chances are no one's going to think about it too much. But I do have a good explanation for it. And this diminished chord, D diminished 7, is a almost like it's the dominant diminished chord to C minor. So I kind of feel like I'm going like this. Like I'm, you know, resolving back to the C, but instead of going to C minor, I'm going to a C7 chord, which is, you know, what this second diminished chord is sounding like. So it's almost like this, you know. It's almost like C minor 7, G7, C. You know, this diminished 7th chord, you know, might be like a G7 flat 9. So it's just a quick little resolution to that C minor chord. And, but in this case, again, it's kind of deceptive because it goes to C7 and it's walking up. So I just really like that. And again, I do this every single time I play this phrase. F minor 7 down there. I pluck the C. I'm not going to put a chord on this right now. You don't need to put a chord on every single chance you get. We'll do it later on. And then we have a really nice reharmonization opportunity right here. It's not really reharm, it's kind of just enhancing the harmony, or, you know, adding a few things in. But we have a B flat 9 right here, so it's B flat 9 with a 3rd on top, following the melody up, and the bass note is going to be descending. So now I have an A7 flat 5 to an A flat 13, and then I'm going to resolve to a G13. So any chance you get to kind of expand your chord voicings like that, where the melody is going up and then you can walk the bass line down, that's very cool. Okay? Again, it's just kind of that, you know, they call they call it the fan effect, or at least that's how it was, that's how it's been described to me way back when. But this isn't a huge fan, but it's still, the voicings do expand as you go on. And so when I go from here, this F minor 7, you may, I do have the option of putting the like an F over A flat in here, F minor over A flat. But why don't I? Well, because I'd be backtracking again. I'm going to hit this A flat 13 on the way down, so I don't want to hit an A flat in the bass, Again, it's just a little too much of the same thing there. So just another example of trying to avoid that backtracking. But anyway, so then I have my G13 chord, and on the lead sheet here, it's written as a G minor 7. I'm just making it a dominant to increase the tension a little bit. 13, I'm going to resolve it. I'm going to do a tritone sub, D flat 9 to C11, or B flat triad over C, and then to an F sharp 7, again tritone sub, resolving to the F minor. The trick here is to keep that melody note ringing as much as you can, and I don't think I did a very good job of that on my recording. I did on some other takes, but I'm not sure I got it very well on this one, so try to do it here. So let's see. Yeah, there we go. Now when you go to the F sharp, you have to let that note up, but a little secret is you can sort of do a light hammer on with one of your free fingers and kind of try to, let's see. Kind of like that. Was actually a little too much, but you can sort of just reattack that note just a little bit, in case anybody's listening for those details. Then just, straightforward F minor, F minor 7, F minor 9, I forget what I did here. Just F minor. Actually, I do throw the 9 in there, and then just kind of a little, I throw it up to there. And this is, again, a B flat 13 chord. And all I'm doing here is I'm throwing on the sharp 9. I'm just doing a little ornamental grace note pull off there to accent that melody. That's what I'm going for there, which is, and again, I'm going to move that the 13, this 13 shape. That's a movable one, so I'm going to move that down 3 frets and get the same thing. So that's what I'm going for. All right, so back into the E flat major 7. Now here, I do decide to throw in a line cliche. I said I might, and I am. So I'm going to go like, actually, sorry. Just like that, because it needs a little something there. And I'm actually not going to do that same harmonization. I'm going to do something totally different. So the notes aren't moving in that direction anymore, so I feel like that's okay. And now, on these next 2 notes, I'm going to do a 2-5 into the B flat minor 7. Just like that, C minor 7 to F7 to B minor. This is actually just a B flat minor. This is actually just a spread triad. And then I slide up here. This is just a Stairway to Heaven style line cliche. Okay, so. And then this one took me a little while to get exactly right, but I then do, this is an E flat 7 flat 9 with no third. So E flat over D flat, or an E flat 7 third inversion. Hit that A7 flat 5 again, the tritone sub, resolving down to the A flat major 7. So let's see once again. And there we are. So yeah, that one, that one took me a little while to figure out exactly which chords. Originally here, I was thinking just do like an E flat 9, but the problem was I just needed a little more variation there, so I did, okay, flat 9, make it a little more dramatic. Just like that. And now on this A flat major 7 chord, again, you have to be careful with the licks you do, because you might throw off the melody. You might not make it clear enough. So in this case, I just decided to do some fourth voicings that are kind of, I think of Kurt Rosenwinkel when I do that. It's kind of just throw these in here. This isn't necessarily, this is kind of like, and really I just mess around until I find something I like, and it's just, again, a nice little chord fill, let's see here. It all sounds cool. Typically there's just fourths stacked on on top of another. That's all these voicings are. And typically those sound very, very contemporary, very cool, and can be thrown in almost anywhere. So yeah, I just decided to do a little chord fill right there. And I end up on this like an E flat 11 chord, which is kind of nice. I feel like that's going to resolve to my A flat minor 9 in the next bar. So I feel like there's a little bit of resolution there, so it's kind of almost a pivot chord, Then I do the, I do do that tritone sub with the D7 there, so A flat minor 9, D7 to D flat 7, same as the first harmonization of this B flat minor 7 to the E flat in the first A section. So I do that there. And right here, I'm not going to do that walk up again because, again, I don't want to be backtracking. You can do the tritone sub, you can do the walk up, one or the other, but not both. So, and one other thing I have written here is no E7. And what I mean by that is there is a possibility you could throw like an E7 on the next melody note, which is an A flat, to resolve back down to your E flat major 7 and then continue the melody on like that. But the reason I don't do it is because this D flat 7 has a resolution. That flat 7 is going to resolve. It has like kind of a pushing up effect, this. So when I go, it's that type of effect. And that's why I think the walk up is okay, because it accents, or it really brings out that motion of ascending. But I wouldn't want to throw in an E7 here, because that E7 is now stealing the resolution from your D flat 7. So just that in my opinion would be over harmonizing, and I may have done that in the past, but I was I just thought of it. I didn't like try to do it, but I just did want to point out not to do too much there. So let the D flat 7 have its resolution. Let it be happy. There'll be opportunities for other things down the road. So anyway. And we're just back into this, which I play the same every time, except right here, I do throw in the F minor triad first inversion, A flat in the bass, because I'm not going to be walking down, so I can keep going to the same direction. B flat 9, walk that melody up, D diminished 7th chord into my E flat 6. So that again, kind of again, D flat diminished 7, kind of like a B flat 7 flat 9 into my E flat 6. Now here, I'm going to be walking down into a reharmonization leading into the bridge, but I will point out I have this D diminished 7th chord in there to my E flat 6, the D flat 9, and that's actually what's written on the page, but I really like that, and you know why? Because it's not backtracking. I am kind of dancing around. That's why I do this bass line here. It's almost a little joke to myself that, you know, I'm like skipping around that D. You know, I'm not going to hit it again. You know, I already hit it. I'm going to leave it behind, and I'm going to move forward to other options. So yeah, I really just love doing that. You know, I throw that D diminished 7th chord in there, skip over it to the D flat 9. Now, on the lead sheet, it says to go back up to an E flat chord, which sounds fine. Again, that D flat 9, you know, kind of has that pushing up resolution effect, and it would sound perfectly fine. You could go, you know, into the bridge, but I just do a little something different here. I resolve this D flat 9, I turn it into something totally different, and I resolve down to the C minor 7, so it's kind of like a sub 5, you know, of a G7 there. Resolve to the C minor 7, and then just a 2/5. It's going to lead me into my B flat minor 7 on the bridge there, so F9. Little diminished chord here, kind of like an F7 flat 9, into my B flat minor chord. And here I just do another line cliche down, kind of with a similar, sort of like mimicking that bass line I did before. So B minor, B flat minor major 7, B flat minor 7. Come up here, hit a very high voicing of an E flat 7 flat 9, and then land on one of my favorite voicings. If you've seen my other videos, you know I do this chord all the time. It's kind of like an A flat major 9 sound with a 3rd on top. Some people might have a problem calling it a 9 chord because the 9 or the 2 is so far down in the voicing, it's so low, as opposed to being on top like that, but you know, whatever. We'll call it whatever you want. But it's a major sounding chord with a 2 in major 7th chord with a 2 in there, or major 9. Now this section of the song is another place where I always struggled to fill it in, because you know, it's a very long 2 measures, and you want to do a little something interesting here, but I always end up doing too much. I play too many notes, and again, kind of lose my concentration on the melody, and just never works out very well. So I just decided to do a slight little reharm here, and kind of hit this by accident. And I'm going to play it right here now. So C7 to D flat 7, and then I go down to D flat major 7, B major 7, start the melody, so it's like a sharp 11, and then B flat 7, kind of ends up on a 9 there, continuing that melody to A minor. So it resolves, you know, as like a tritone sub, half-step resolution down to A minor. Now we're still kind of playing this free here, so you know. So, you know, just kind of, that's how I space those out. You know, frankly, the first time I did it sounded so good, and I played it a little bit differently. I was using lower voicings, so it's more like this. Something like that. But once I played that, I couldn't replicate it. I forgot kind of what I did, and I remember the chord progression, but just the way I hit it the first time struck me. I really liked it, and it was gone. I couldn't remember it. So it was something like this, and I'm pretty happy with, you know, the way I figured it out from there. Again, kind of avoiding backtracking, you know, as I go. C7, D flat 7, D flat major 7, skip over the C down to a B major 7, B flat 7, and then into that A minor chord. So one thing you may be wondering is, like, how far back do you have to look when you backtrack? Like, where do you draw the line? And for me, it's like, you know, a measure or 2 measures, typically a harmonic phrase, which, you know, usually spans a measure or, you know, 1 or 2 measures. So yeah, obviously, like, you know, if I hit a certain chord, I'm going to hit it again at some point, but it's really just within the same harmonic phrase. So anyway, just try to keep that in mind. Anyway, we're on one of the coolest A minor chords on guitar, and this is a minor 11 with the 9. The 9 is the open B string. The 11 is the melody on top here. Learn this chord, and people are gonna go, wow, yeah, that guy knows what he's doing. And then I just kind of, somehow I kept that note going. That was a little bit of a stretch there. Hit this D chord, or, you know, hit this D bass note, and then here I have some options. The way I usually do it is like that, which is cool. It's kind of a little more Joe Pass style, and then the way I sort of, this was also kind of by accident, was this is the way I played it this time, which was, these are a little more like Lenny Bro style. And I go into my own thing. But I've been really into this voicing lately, which is kind of a, it's a, I don't know what you want to call this. It's a tritone with it's almost like, you know, like a 13 shape, the top part here. In this case, it's functioning maybe as like a D7 sharp 9. Just up on this, voiced on this, starting on the A string. So when you play it higher like that, you can access some, you know, additional melody notes on the high E string. Move it up to this F7, becomes like an F7 sharp 9 for a second, you know, then I move it back down. Just kind of a cool sound, you know, to move around. And then here, again, I usually play this as so. Very straightforward, you know. 2-5, 2-5, you know, or 3-6, 2-5, 1, you know, resolving. But in this case, I already had the next part planned out, so I had to figure out a way to get into that. And I don't know, I wanted to resolve this chord somehow, whether it was perfect or not. I go down, this is a G minor 7 flat 5 third inversion. All right, it's a drop 3 voicing starting on the A string. And then from there, I just do, this is a E diminished 7th voicing. You know, it's taking the place of that C7 flat 9. Again, drop 3 voicing starting on the A string. Here I changed up a little bit. I don't quite voice lead perfectly, but the reason I do this chord, which is basically just an A triad, A flat triad with a B flat on top. It's like an F minor 11 sound, kind of like that. is because this next chord, which again is this same type of chord. This is at the 5th fret. Now, I really like this chord. I did this in Body and Soul, kind of really just wrote the whole arrangement around that, to be honest, like that. But I have this shaped right here, melody on top, and then I'm going to move that down. So this is actually another diminished voicing that I can throw around. It's that 13, you know. It's that 13 shape. So I'm going to diminish, you know, style these voicings and like that. And then going into the next section, I'm actually going to start off on an E chord, an E11 chord. So that's a D triad with an E in the bass. Okay, so let me play that whole thing for you. So it's going to sound something like this. Okay, so now we're in a section where I use this reharmonization technique, and I'll be honest, unfortunately, I don't think I can explain it right now. It's something, there is a method to it, it's just it's kind of complicated, and I actually need to do a bit of research on this. It's something I've used here and there. I did an arrangement of Starry, Starry Night, where I reharmonize a chorus of that song using this technique, and it takes a long time to explain. So I might make a video on this in the future, but it's just a there is a method here. For right now, I'll just try to explain it in as simple terms as I can. You know, hopefully I won't be too confusing, but and hopefully I'm not being too vague here. But basically, I'm using triads and just pairing them up with different bass notes. So, for example, when we have a melody, we starting on D here. You know, that's the well, that particular note can be a part of 3 different triads. It can be a D chord, where it's the root. It can be a B flat chord, where it's the 3rd, or it can be a G chord, where it's the 5th. That alone kind of sounds cool, you know. And then so you have 3 different triads you can pick from, and then you just try to pair them up with whatever bass note sounds cool. You know, think of the interval, think of the triad relationship to the bass note, and experiment. And that's really what it boils down to. So there is more of a system than that, but for right now, just think of it like that. So, so right here, let's see. I'm starting off with a D triad over an E bass. Now I really like this because you know the first chord of the A section is an E flat major 7 chord. All right, we've been doing that. You know, we've been keeping that, you know, as is for the past couple of A sections. But now we're doing something that is kind of close to it, but it's totally different. So, you know, it's supposed to be an E flat major 7 chord, but we're playing an E11 chord. So to me, that's kind of another joke, you know, just a little inside thing that I'm like, ooh, I can do that, and you know, it's still going to sound good. But from there, we are going to actually go to kind of an E flat chord. So we do something totally different, then we come back into familiar territory, and then we leave it again. And we go to this. So this is an D over E flat, then we have a B flat over E flat, plus a G over C. So there I do the, you know, I use each triad that the D can be a part of, and I just pair it up with a different bass note. And the bass action, the bass movement sounds cool there. Like I go, you know, I really like that. And the other cool thing about this is, on this particular chord, the lowest note is a B, so when I, you know, go to the next chord, that B you know, and the E, they're a fifth apart. So it's almost like this chord, even though it's not even close to, you know, functioning that way, it kind of resolves down, you know, like it should in, you know, in the circle of fifths. But anyways, there's little details that, you know, I like to point out. So let's see. And then yeah, I'm hitting this again just to kind of bring it out. I'm kind of using the melody as a vehicle for this reharm. It's going to become a little bit, it's going to be kind of become something of its own, you know, here. But you know, I'm just, hopefully I don't lose too many people. Right there. And then again, just more triads. These are all going to be 11th chords. This is a G flat over A flat over B flat to an A over B to an F over G. And now here I changed it up again. Now we're going to go to an A flat over D flat to an F over B flat to a and I'm changing it up again, A flat over G flat, F sharp over E, E flat over D flat, B over A to a C over B flat. So if anybody's I don't know if anybody's picking up the pattern, but you may notice that a lot of these chords are the same quality, or at least they're the same relationship. You know, these are kind of like 11 chords all the way up to there. These two chords are the same relationship between the triad and the bass note as are these. These are all just the same. You know, I can do this like that. So those are all, you know, like a triad that is a second above the bass note. Kind of like that Lydian sound, you know. So yeah, that's the whole idea. I'm kind of just looking for those types of sounds that I think will work. They're going to create, you know, an interesting color. And this ending is I really like because it's kind of, again, it's kind of a cool little trick here. I'm on a B over A right here, and I resolve to a. Did my mic fall off here? Oh no. Excuse me. And I resolve to a C over B flat. So, and the thing is, the chord shrinks a little bit. The bass note and the triad both move up 1/2 step, but the chord just becomes a little bit smaller. So it goes from this to this, which I just like. And at this point, we're totally out of the original changes. You know, we're really not even close, you know. And then, you know, from here, I'm actually going to go to this F triad with a 2 in there, which if you've watched my Cool Chords video, you know that I like to call Fred, because that's what one of my teachers called it. So here we are on Fred. And again, this is also kind of similar to that the D over E in the first part of this reharmonization. We're supposed to be on an A flat major 7 chord here, but in this case we're on kind of like an F chord over an A. So it's like, it is kind of close, but it's totally different. You know, geographically it's close, but harmonically it's totally different. And then I really struggled to find something that worked here. I tried to do the more triads and bass notes, and I was just not at all satisfied with what I came up with. So I don't know what hit me, but eventually I just said, why don't I just try all Freds? You know, let's just do it. And that's exactly what I did. So I start off with just the melody here. Fred, Fred, Fred in a different form. You know, we have this form here. Now this is kind of like a minor 7 sharp 5 version. So it's like an E minor 7 sharp 5, G minor 7 sharp 5, B minor 7 sharp 5. That just sounds cool. And I actually go up, yeah, one more. D minor 7 sharp 5, so that's the melody. Then from here, I just walk the bottom part of that chord down to get to where I need to be. So it's going to be like, these melodies right there. And this chord I just came up with because I needed something that sounded tense and odd, that wasn't too tonal. So I don't know what you want to call this chord. It's over a B flat, and it's kind of like a B flat, flat 13, B flat minor 7, B flat minor, flat 13, flat 9. It's just this G flat triad with a B in there over a B flat. And it's a very tense sounding chord, which is what I wanted. And then I go to another tense sounding chord, which is cool. This is kind of a callback to my, my use of these chords a couple measures ago. This is, again, an E triad over a D, which is going to be a little pivot chord here. It's going to resolve to E flat major 7, and we're going to play the melody out. So this is kind of like an E7 third inversion, half step resolution down to my E flat major 7. So let me try playing this whole thing here. Have to be a little generous with my timing there. Same thing here. There we go. Put in some, some holds there, play it rubato, and then yeah, I think that does the job of working my way back into the melody here. And then yeah, I just play this the same as I always do. And then here, actually I do this. That triad again, F minor triad first inversion, F triad first inversion, little walk up there, and then B flat 7, A flat triad first inversion, B flat triad first inversion to E flat. So again, a little walk up, continuing to walk up into my E flat chord. So there you go. And now from here, I go into a solo, I go into tempo. I'm not going to go through that, but I will say that for ballads like this, and just in general, I need to go into a double time swing feel, which would be something like this, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Otherwise, it's just too loose. It doesn't work like that, and people eventually need to hear something they can latch onto, like a rhythm. So I think double time swing just works best for ballads in general. Now I've done plenty of like free rubato soloing and slow tempo soloing, and what always happens is I do play too many notes, I know, and kind of just it's just too loose. And when I do slow tempo soloing, like a ballad, in tempo, just regular feel, I always get into this really awful 12/8 feel because I do a lot of triplets, and then the closest, the closest subdivision always becomes like, like a. Something like that. I just don't want to do that. It's by accident, I don't really mean to do that, but way back years ago, it's kind of a trap I used to fall into. So double time swing feel, I think, is the way to go. And then yeah, when I come out of the solo, I'll just do this real quick and then wrap up here. I kind of try to hit this melody again. I think I did something like that. Here I do this like Joe Pass style with these like little 13 chords the way I normally do, and then my standard, 3, 6, 2, 5. I do a minor 7 flat 5 here on the 2. More diminished voicings. I like these. This actually resolves perfectly. This is like a is actually kind of an inversion of this chord, but this resolves perfectly to this E flat major 7 chord. The D resolves up to the E flat, the A flat resolves down to the G, the B resolves to the B flat, and then the melody just stays the same. Right there. So that's cool. And then I wanted this final A section to be kind of a mix of that reharm and just straightforward playing. So I start off straightforward, do this 2-5 again, with the cliche, line cliche. And then from there, it's a pretty seamless transition into my little reharm idea. Same as before, and then this time I'm gonna walk down past Fred and settle on that A flat major 7, which is where we should be. So, and then from there, I do the frets again. Frets up. I don't go all the way up though. I stay on this chord, like a G minor 7 sharp 5, or maybe like an E, E flat add 9 first inversion, which resolves nicely into my A flat minor 9. Just hit that melody note, mess around with that 7th a little bit. Go ahead and do that sub 5, no backtracking, and then into the final time here. I forget what I did here, but maybe do the walk up again if you want. Flat 9, B7 flat 9, no third. And the reason I'm not walking up, or the reason I'm not doing like a diminished chord here, is because I'm going to resolve up to the B major 7 chord again that I had my intro. And quote that intro a little bit. So I want that B flat to have that deceptive resolution up to the B, and so forth. Of course, some harmonics here, you know me. Just like that. And there you go. There you have it. So, I hope that was insightful to, to how I approach chord melodies and how I approach these, solo guitar arrangements I do. And I'll say that this took me about, I said I started working on it about 6 or 7 weeks ago, so the bulk of the arrangement took me about a month, which is normal. If I'm organized and I have a good plan, for like making videos, I usually give myself at least a month. Every now and then I try to throw something together real quick, and sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. But Body and Soul, the one I was talking about before, that was actually, I think, done in a week. I did that one pretty quickly. But yeah, the best, the ones I like the most, I really do like this one. It took me about a month, and then a little bit of tweaking after that, all the way up until the final week. And that just means playing it, half an hour every day. Again, I'll just notice little things. I'll hit things by accident that I'll like, and I'll write them down. And typically, when I have a lot of things written on the sheet, that's a good sign. So I don't know if you can see all that, but that's usually a good sign. And sometimes I'll even fill up the back of the sheet. In this case, I didn't. But when I'm writing things down and crafting it like that, that's when I'm at my best. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you enjoy working on Misty, and thank you very much for watching. I'm going to do some more of these, so stick around, hit that subscribe button, and check back regularly, because I really enjoy talking about this, these types of arrangements and the process, and I'm looking forward to more. So please do like this video, and let me know some thoughts in the comments. Any questions you have, I will be more than happy to answer to the best of my abilities. And all right, well, you take care, and I'll see you next time.